Yeah, what's up, everybody? This is Case Study QB, and we are the political junkies for the last show of the year. And I wanted to get we're only about a minute early. I want to get started as soon as possible. There's so much to talk about, and I'm so happy to have my buddy Kimberly. I got Day, I got David, and I got Armani Oakley, the political junkies. We back at it. We're gonna save the world. That's what we're here for, right? Without discussions and getting down. Let me go to everybody around. Kimberly, what's up, buddy? As you drink your water.
Yeah, my water. But yeah, I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. Good to have you. Day.
Hey, can you hear me? Awesome.
Yeah.
All
Yeah,
right.
you did.
Super excited to be here.
Yeah, as usual. David.
Hello, thanks for having me back.
Yeah. Amani.
Hey, what's going on? I keep thinking today is Friday, even though I know you only have this show on Monday. But happy Monday, everybody. What's up?
All right, so I'm going to go straight to David. We have a lot that we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about killer robots going down over there in San Francisco. We got Hakeem Jeffries have taken the reins, and there's a couple statements that I definitely want to talk about with progressives trusting this guy, and I mean he got unanimous vote to become Speaker of the House, so there was no opposition whatsoever. And but before we get to our topics, I know it happened a while ago, but because David's on the ground in Colorado with the shooting, unfortunately, at Club Q, I want him to give us his on the ground or in the state, report. So
Yeah.
go ahead, David.
Yeah, well, thanks. Yeah, I was gonna say, for those of you who probably hadn't heard, I was like, the gunman went into a LGBTQ plus club in Colorado Springs. So it's about, with no traffic, it's about an hour and 15 minutes south of where I live in Denver, and killed 5 people and injured around 20. And so I went to a vigil that was held here in Denver. I bet there were at least 2,000. I bet there were at least 2,000 people there in one of the LGBTQ plus clubs here in Denver, and there were representatives from the local, state, federal level. Mayor spoke, and it was just, I don't know, it was just very. It was just interesting to be like. It was great to be amongst community with everyone, but it was also interesting to think about after the Pulse nightclub, and then also this one too, just thinking about like where how these spaces were very formative for me in my coming out and my kind of developing a sense of self and identity amongst within the LGBTQ plus community. And so it's definitely like rocks a sense of safety, but yeah, I was like, I think we talked a little bit about mental health, the gun density problem that we have here in the United States, just kind of what we can all do collectively in order to move forward. And so I was like, I'm just tired of these things happening. Everywhere across this country. So and it always rocks a little closer when it's a little closer to home. So yeah.
And right away, Biden, I think performatively said, "Oh, we want to do a bill, that a mass, what is it called, assault rifles bill." Mm-hmm. And like right away, they're like, "Well, but it's not. It's most likely going to fail in the Senate." Like there's no fight. There's no serious fight to try to get this thing passed, even though I'm sure it's like over 60% of Americans think we should have an assault rifle ban, but it just we can't get it done for some reason. I do not know why. All right, let me give a shout out to Holly Horn in the building. PJ Chris is in the building. Much love to y'all. And before we move on, David, you have anything else you want to talk on, or anybody else?
No, I think I'm okay. Thank you. Yeah, thanks for kind of giving me the space to talk through a little bit.
Nah, my man, you're a fellow PJ, so definitely want to give you. So let me set this one up. Anybody who knows Brianna Joy Gray, she's the former press secretary for Bernie Sanders. I love going on her call-in show on call-in. She's called The Debrief. That's where I met my man Day at, and she had a very spicy moment recently on her last show, and I think it's a teachable moment, and I think it's something that we can learn. We can have fun with the drama and also afterwards. So, here.
Cousin Eric, what's on your mind this evening, Cousin Eric?
Hey, what's up?
What's up?
About time you got pissed off.
So just to give a
About
little
time
bit,
What's on your mind,
About
Eric?
time you channel.
just to give a little bit, she said about time. He said about time you got pissed off. It's more like a I told you show moment. And just to give a little bit of preference, because we're not going to talk about it too much. This is him saying I told you so about the fraud squad, they call it, or the squad, about how they keep letting her down while she was giving them, like a lot of people, trying to give them a little bit of space or time to really do something effective. But he's here saying, hey, it's about time you got on board with us. So let me run that a little bit.
About time
What's in your mind,
About
Eric?
time you channel your inner me, right?
I'm not in the mood, Eric, I gotta say. So what's on your mind? I'm not in the mood for lectures.
I would say that as a compliment.
I don't care. I'm not taking it that way. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not taking it that way. Me being measured and maintaining credibility for the sake of this broader community isn't something I'm going to sit here and get lectured about today. So I'm happy to take your question and you can let me know what's on your mind. But I don't have the emotional excesses in this moment to take like sarcastic indictments of what you felt to be my previous extensions of grace. You've been very clear about how you felt, and you're entitled to those opinions. I'm not saying that I have any regrets about the way that I've handled this to date, because I think that I have credibility as a consequence of not jumping to conclusions and keeping my wits about me. I understand that you feel differently, and I respect that you've gone out and moved through the world in a way that you feel like is appropriate. But I'm happy to hear what's on your mind substantively this evening.
Yeah. Anyway. So,
right.
at this point, should we really be surprised by this?
I could really go on into it, but I'm just going to explain it instead of it being more painfully. It gets a little bit more painful as he talks, and basically, to me, all right, this is a situation where there are people who are very cynical, right? Meaning that when AOC first got in there, they're going to be like, oh no, they're not going to do anything. Elizabeth Warren, no, they're not going to do anything. And this is like back in 2018. I think there's a balance that you have to have, right? You have to kind of give people grace to show you who they are. And so with me personally, I gave AOC a lot of time, and just over and over and over again. At a certain point, it's like, okay, you're just not who I thought you were. And there are people that, let's say Amani got elected, right? This person would be the person, right? As soon as Amani on day one walked in there, oh, Amani ain't gonna do anything. She ain't gonna do no pressure on Nancy Pelosi or that. And now it's like, man, you didn't even give her a chance. Suppose she turn around and does everything that we expect, like a Sharma Sawant, who's a socialist over there in Seattle that's fighting very hard. Suppose she's that type of person, and now you got the egg on your face. So to me, I'm thinking of something you always hear about different. Unfortunately, you hear about different derogatory words, right? You hear about the boutique left. I personally don't like to talk about in this language, but you hear like the boutique left. You hear about the radical left. You hear about all these derogatory words for different people in the left that each side calls those bombs at the other side. I think there should be something called the productive left. And the productive left meaning even if you are trying something and it fails, at least you're trying something. So the productive left is the people who tried to do the March for Medicare for All. These are people who didn't have a huge audience, but they were trying something. RBN had their different summits out there, and at least they tried something. Even TYT had the Wolfpack. at least they tried something. They tried Justice Democrat. Whether you know at the time it was a good idea, and now people feel different about it. I agree, but at least we're trying something. So what do you think about that? Anybody want to jump in on that?
I've always felt that some of this has been preemptive. Like, I don't know. I just try to think about what's the most effective way to enact change or get someone to do what you want. And just typically on the left, it's not effective to just shame a lot of these politicians. That's not how these people respond. Like, I've been fortunate to meet like one or two of them, and I'm like, when I talk to them about stuff and I'm like, well, why did y'all do this? They're completely clueless to what the substance of the critique was, because all they heard was the critique. And I'm like, you have to decide if you want to be right or do you want to be in a relationship and get what you want. And I just feel like we make it so people don't listen to us. They should. I'm not making excuses for that, but just human psychology and interaction. If you keep calling me a B word, or you keep calling me this, that, and the third, I'm not going to listen to what you're going to want to say in good faith. But I think people like Brianna or like Crystal Ball, et cetera, who may take a more measured approach, have more influence on some of the people. Like when I spoke with said person that I ended up speaking with, we had like a 30-minute conversation off the rip, and they were willing to listen because of how I approached them versus somebody else who had like cussed them out 5 minutes before. So
yeah, let me go to Amani next.
I love the fact that on this show, me and Day are like, Day's like the angel on the shoulder and I'm like the devil, because I'm like, listen, they're politicians. They're politicians. And the thing is, politicians love to say, and I've worked for politicians, right? So I know how this goes. Politicians love to say stuff like, oh, I didn't do that because you didn't ask me nicely. But the reality is they didn't do it because there's either a big donor they didn't want to piss off. In New Jersey, it's likely there's a party boss they didn't want to piss off, or they just feel like you're not powerful and I want to do what I want. Like there's nothing forcing me. You don't control my voters. You don't control anything that relates to my power. So, I can do what I want. So, I mean, I think that, minus words like, calling somebody a B word or something, I think that's like too far. But I do think ramped up language is fair game. Now, with regards to, the boutique left, the productive left, listen, I call people the theater left all the time because I do think there's a sect of the left that just loves the spotlight. Like it's not, who cares whether we win or not? Who cares whether we get good policy? I went viral, or, I was on the megaphone at that rally, and that's like, we did it. And it's like, no, we're supposed to win. But I think a lot of these names are in response to folks who refer to themselves as the professional left. That was the first type that I saw out there, and it was kind of like a hoity-toity type of thing, where folks were like, we're the professional left, we get behind people who have have what it takes to win, we're strategic, and it was very like nose in the air. And then come now, like, it's not like those folks are very effective. We didn't have a progressive wave. How many of our initiatives really got pushed through? I can't really think of any that got pushed through in their entirety. So now people are kind of clapping back and saying, oh, what happened, professional left? Like now you're just a theater left, or you're the boutique left, or whatever it is that they want to call them. But it kind of started with that hoity-toity attitude. It's like, don't throw stones if you live in a glass house. Don't start shit if you can't back it up.
Don't start no stuff, won't be no stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, let me go to Dave real quick to clarify something that you said. I can't hear you, Dave. Put on.
Quick clarification, and I should have said this. So I want to be very clear that when I'm speaking, what I was saying refers to the candidates who aren't taking like corporate money, et cetera, et cetera. I think like the AOCs, the squad, for lack of better words, versus I do think there is a different tactic that you need to take with people like Pelosi. What's the man's name? Manchin, et cetera. I think the tactics are different because I think how they think and their temperament are very different. And I think like Manchin needs shaming because shaming actually was effective. Shaming has never been effective on the squad side. But when they felt supported or blah, 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 like when Cori Bush was getting support for being outside, it actually made her go harder for that said policy. I know that might suck because they're adults, but it's like, I want what I want. So if that's what I got to do to get it, I'm going to do it. That was it.
You got
Conversely, Conversely, I don't think Shane works on the squad because who's going to replace them? They live in deep blue districts, and right now they have a status as far as their name recognition, money, all of that. That if another progressive wanted to run against them, it'd be almost like running against an establishment person, not the politics wise, but with regards to raising the money, with regards to all that stuff. So I think they don't respond because they don't have to. I mean, who's threatening them? Who's going to take their seat? Who's going to stop them?
I think that's a good point. Why they don't go on independent media, like you don't see them anywhere that often. That's one thing I gotta give credit to Rokana. This dude is everywhere. You never have to guess where he thinks on a particular topic, whether you like it or not. He represents his own views, his own or his values, and maybe to a certain extent, if you're in this district and you're a leftist that does not want him or did not want him to vote for what's his name, Hakeem Jeffries, you're slated by that. But at least he's going to tell you why. You might not like the reason. But let me go to Kimberly to touch on this, and then we're going to go on to the railroad strikers.
Yeah, I would say I'm going to be honest. I don't think it really matters the way you talk to a squad, whether you are using cuss words or being really kind, or the squad is just like every other politician in the sense that you have to threaten where they get their power. And I've for a while now have thought that the squad wants an organized left, organized enough to elect them, but not organized enough to hold them accountable. And it's not just them. It's at the local level. I see it all the time. You get all these little good progressives who claim that they want they want a left that's active. They want a left that's powerful and that can support them and also hold them accountable. But when it comes to practice, these people don't want a left that's going to hold them accountable. They want you organized enough to volunteer for them, but not organized enough to hold them accountable. And the squad, in essence, is kind of making a political calculation that it's easier to rock with the establishment on a lot of these things than to side with the activists who they feel often have no power, which is an interesting viewpoint to have, because people like AOC only got elected because of the insignificant activists that she feels have no power now. So I like Brianna Joy Gray. I listen to a lot of her stuff. I don't find an issue with her approach. Like it's different from like the Jimmy Dore approach or whatever. But regardless of how you talk to these people, this is the fact. These people do not want to take on the Democratic Party establishment. That's what it is. They believe in good things. I don't have a doubt in my mind that AOC really does believe in Medicare for all. Now, is AOC willing to fight for Medicare for all? Is she has to fight through Nancy, through Hakeem, through Biden? No. And we also have to talk about the fact that some of these squad members are working class, but there comes a change that happens when you move out of the working class and into the upper middle class, which is where they're at now. And not just the upper middle class, but an upper middle class position where you have a lot of political power. Often AOC talks about how she doesn't have all that much political power, and people on the left thinks that she has a ton of political power that she doesn't have. And to an extent, that's true. Like, she doesn't have a lot of institutional power, but she has a lot of political power. The fact that she feels that she doesn't, I mean, we should already be asking questions about why do you feel you don't have that much political power if we've given you all this money, all this fame, all this all these followers. Like, that is your power. You were never going to have institutional power, friend, because you are one of 5. Like, you are one of like 400 people who are all against you. They all detest you. They don't care how cute you are or how politically correct, how charming, how, talented you are when speaking about your ideas. These people hate you because you are talking about an ideology that's going to remove the 1%.
So we know that Kimberly and Amani both ran for office. Kimberly at the state level, Amani at the House representative level, the federal level. And I want to put you guys on the spot. And I want to ask you, what would y'all do if you are in this position? I'm give you some time to, stew on that question by bringing up the next step of this, the railroad strike, bringing up this topic of, AOC. One of the things, she was one of the people that voted to end the strike, which, a lot of us were surprised by. While I believe Rashida was the only person from the squad who did not vote in favor of ending the strike. And I think one of the things she cited, or I think even Ryan Grimm cited, that she went along with what the unions in her district wanted, and that makes me think of her connection to that union. Why she remember when the Amazon Labor Union ALU, when they won their first battle, she was nowhere to be found when they were fighting, and then after they won, that's when she came on board. Like, I wonder if, because I was curious why she didn't jump on board and help them the whole time, and I wonder if that same union that she's connected to in her district was like, they're not legitimate, don't help them out, and if she took that advice. So now that I kind of brought up the topic, I want to go to Armani or Kimberly first, and then if David, you guys, who knows if you guys might run one day. So if you want to give an input of what you might do, and also Holly Horn in the chat and PJ Chris, let me know what you would do if you were Congress people. So who wants to go first, Kimberly or Armani? Okay.
Yeah, I can go first.
Okay.
I'll tell you that I would have voted no on that railroad bill, regardless of what the union leadership wanted me to do, because as leftists, we already understand the union leadership. They're kind of controlled opposition. These people don't really want to fight corporations as much as they want to keep their position. When you hear about the fact that the union leadership for these railroad workers have sick days, but the workers themselves don't, that tells you all you need to know about what's going on. And I feel like, AOC is smart enough to understand, because she ran a political race where no union backed her. She's smart enough to understand that there's a difference between what the leadership wants. These people are very connected to the Democratic Party and the Democratic Party elites, and what the members are willing to go for. And we've seen this with the Bernie campaign in 2020, 2016. Bernie didn't really get that much support from the unions when he first came out. And even in 2020, there were more unions, but still it wasn't like a huge differentiator between him and Biden. So the fact that they're now using this call out situation of like, but the unions wanted us to do this. And when we look into it, it's like the union leadership wanted you to do this, because if the workers wanted this deal, they would have taken it from the beginning. We're in the situation specifically because the membership said, this isn't a deal we're willing to go for. But aside from that, I also think just the way the entire squad does politics just seems very establishment. Like the amount of money that they send to these consultants, I have to wonder, why are you sending millions of dollars to consultants to tell you how to win a race that you won when nobody backed you? The establishment didn't back you. There was no rich people backing you. So why you need advice from a consultant who probably don't even live in your state to tell you how to win a race when you can run mutual aid programs in your own district? Guess what? People aren't going to vote against a person who puts food in their mouth.
Yep. That reminds me, I meant to talk about this at the beginning, that I'm going to be giving an announcement on the latest status of the Mutual Aid Political Party Initiative later on. But I'm going to go to Armani next to give us her opinion of what she would do if she was in office right now in regards to the strike.
Yeah, so I agree with Kimberly with regards to the fact that union membership, it was rather union leadership, definitely is not like on the progressive. A lot of unions have this rule that goes something along the lines of like, if they were good to us, then we support them. And they were good to us doesn't mean they necessarily fought for you. It just means like they voted yes, or like you invited them to come speak one time and they came and like the bar is like in hell for, they were good to you. But with that being said, I do understand. I would have to have some insight into how much it was leadership or how much it was actually a combination of the union leadership and membership who asked for that. That's what I would have to assess first. And then also, I think one of the things that could have happened is better communication. So, for example, if the way it just looks like AOC and the squad, everybody who voted yes, just like went along with it, and there was no discussions. I would have used my megaphone, my megaphone, whatever you want, my social media prowess, my ability to communicate, my expert comms team to say, hey, these are the things that we're discussing with the unions. These are our options. This is what it looks like. We also, while we're listening to the unions, we also want to hear from you, the voters, the supporters, people who may be in similar jobs and positions. Here's this survey. Tell us what you want us to do on this, right? And then what that does, that brings people into the process. It lets them see what's going on, and ultimately you can come to a decision that really, you as a representative, you're representing what the bulk of the decision was. I think when they kind of just do it behind the scenes, they just do it and there's no context, it feels like it was a betrayal when maybe it necessarily wasn't. So I would have used a little bit more of my comms to kind of try and bring in more folks and get more folks' ideas. And then again, like I would have requested, and I don't know if this was done, but I would have requested to also speak with the membership and not just the leadership, because the leadership, they just, I mean, I have talked to union leadership sometimes who they'll support an elected official because they're like, I remember when they got into office, and this was like 20 years ago, and they're like, we fought for them to get in there, and then they suck now. It's like, yeah, they were progressive back then, but they suck now, and that's their criteria. So union leadership has terrible criteria, but you know, that's how I would have handled it, and then made my decision accordingly.
Nice. Anybody else, Day or David, want to jump in on this topic? Otherwise, I'll move on to
yeah. I can add a little something. I'm hearing a little echo on my end, but I think it's better now. Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm thinking back about my time in corporate America and thinking about when I had to be the union buster, in a sense, the inside business, or inside the company union buster. And so much of what the companies would always talk about was, well, we don't necessarily need unions because of all of these gains we've made with labor rights. Those gains would not have been made without unions. And I'm thinking about paid sick leave, and with in Colorado, this is the first year where every company, regardless of size, is required to offer paid sick leave to all of their employees. And so it's accrued at 1 hour of paid sick leave for every 30 hours worked, up to 48 hours a year. And so I'm like, why is it that we are waiting on these corporations to do the right thing, when we should be solidifying this stuff into local, state, and federal law, in order just for everybody, regardless of the industry that they work in, to have paid sick leave so that they can take care of themselves and their family.
Yes. No, totally 100%. Day, I don't know if you want to jump in on this, or you're good. Okay, go ahead.
So, similar to Imani, I think for me, I would have done my best to leverage. I definitely would have voted no, because I'm pro worker is like my big sticking point. So that would have been a given. But I would have probably leveraged my following to like host interviews with the workers and dismantle a lot of the talking points being spewed by corporate media and politicians. And then honestly, I'd probably get booked on all the major talk shows and just cause a fuss. Like I'd push back on the idea that this was the only option. I would really want to put these media companies in a position where they have to, with me on the air, defend why they feel like we have to screw over workers to be able to provide something, to be able to get, stop a shutdown. And I think I've found that the most effective cable segments typically are when they get to a place where they're like, crap. Like I remember I was watching one, I think on Fox of all places, and the worker was like, this is all we're asking for. And they were like, wait, what? That's all you're asking for? And it was like, yes. They were like, oh, that is bad. And I feel like you need more, not just the workers, but you need politicians who highlight that, because then you can call out other politicians to be like, so I don't understand why my party, if we're a union party, is actually voting to quash the union. Joe Biden, you said that you are the most pro-worker, pro-union president, but this is the most anti-union thing that somebody's done since Ronald Reagan. Can you please explain that to the American people?
Not only that, so I'm going to show you this tweet that I'm very proud of that was on Rising recently. They highlighted one of my tweets. I said, has anyone seen CNN or mainstream media interview the railroad owners and ask why they don't want to give their workers something that 86% of Americans already have, paid sick leaves? CNN has been promoting all day why Congress should support the prevention of a strike, but they never have it from the point of view of the worker. Like they're always having a worker on. I saw a worker on. I saw they brought on their labor lawyer, the lawyer representing them. Who else? There was somebody. I think a union president they brought on also, and they're like, "Hey, but you guys got all this money. You got a 26% raise, for the next 5 years that it's going to go up to, and you got all this other stuff. Why do you need that?" And it just baffles my mind. And I think that's one thing that I would do if I had clout as a person in Congress, is go on CNN and say, "Hey, you have to do it in a civil way as well." But I'll say, "Hey, we should have Warren Buffett on, who is the owner of a railroad. We need to have the CEO, or at least call for their press, somebody who represents them, to come on the show, and let's ask them directly why you want a sick person to be driving a train that's 6 miles long." And that's something that I would talk about if I was there. So now I want to take over the conversation to strategy, right? So I think, unfortunately, right now, listening to all the different podcasts and CNN, it's pretty clear that I don't think there's going to be a wildcat strike or something like that, even though I would love for it to happen. And if it's going to happen, I would love for it to happen. But I don't think, as of right now, I don't see anything on the forefront. So the next time, from what I saw, is 2 years from now, is going to be the next time we're going to be in this position, right? So we should be preparing now for 2 years from now, right? So something that I would love to do if I had omniscient powers or whatever, is try to organize the union members of all I think there's like 12 different unions, or a certain amount of them out there. I'm not even talking to the leadership. I'm not going to the leadership. I'm going straight to the members, trying to find out who they are, trying to get a group, social media or something, and say, all right, we want to collect, if there are 80,000 of you, we want to try to get as many people into a group. And so that the next time, 2 years from now, when we get in this position, we can have a railroad strike, what is it called? Strike fund ready. And there's the idea that I thought of, because a strike fund can run out of money. Let's say you could raise 2 million. As soon as that money goes public, or the amount of money that's raised goes public, now the railroad owners know, okay, 2 million, that's going to last them 6 months. We just got to wait them out 6 months, right? Okay. Well, in addition to a strike fund, I think we should do something called adopt a striker, right? What that means is it's almost mutual aid. You're providing mutual aid for a striker. So if there's 80,000 strikers, we want to try to find families who would say, okay, this striker is near my house. Hey, we can provide food for you once a week. And now if you have 7 people that can get that one person every day of the week, now they don't have to worry about food. Now that money that they're raising, maybe that can go strictly towards rent or mortgage for them. And so therefore that strike fund can last longer, or like they won't know how long it can last for, because now we're attending to their needs in other areas. What do you all think about that?
I will say this. I think those are all good ideas, but I think we're sidestepping the problem. Like, okay, we already have all the technology we need to do like mass fundraising. And it's not like people don't already have that idea in mind and unions don't already use it. I think the biggest problem here is a question of political decision. Like, you can't prepare yourself to be more courageous than you are right now if you're still attached to the same interests. Like, I can't help but, when I was like reading up on all this railroad stuff, I couldn't help but see that if these people would have gone on strike, they had the possibility to get way more than 6 days. We're talking about a complete shutdown of the country. We're talking about people who might not even have clean water going to their homes. That it's literally a collapse of, the modern life for the average American. So when I look at those kinds of consequences, I'm like, we really fucked it up. Especially our elected officials, because it's like, Imagine a world where these people felt, the railroad workers felt the way that they did, and the squad came out and did try to, talk to individual workers in the sense that, I ran for office here locally, and I'll tell you, union leaders don't like people talking to their workers because they treat them like children, especially if you're on the left. They don't want some lefty person going in to talk to the workers they represent and then putting in radical ideas that the union doesn't want. Because most of the workers in unions have no clue about political decisions that are being made by the union. Okay, most of them will tell you, oh, yeah, you want to talk about like what's happening with the politicians, go talk to the leader or whatever. So I also feel like the average worker themselves who's like in this situation right now probably doesn't feel all that supported. Because I mean, just writing a tweet on your page saying, I support you and this is really bad is not the kind of support they're looking for. I mean, I think if the squad would have came out there and is like, yo, hit up my team. This is my email. We want to talk to individual workers. We'll come down to whatever state it is that we got to come down to. We'll raise hell. We'll go on every single television show, lefty media. It doesn't matter. Whatever you guys need from us, we are going to be there. Then the workers feel like, oh, damn, like, okay, we have the support now. If we choose that we want to continue to fight, there's some powerful folks on our side who are saying they're going to fight with us. They're going to help us fundraise. They're going to help us do this. But when you get the squad, who's supposedly the most working class lovers ever in Congress, and they're going along with the Democratic strategy, what is that telling workers besides, listen, if you go with the nuclear option, you're not going to have no support.
Got you. Yeah. Let me give you a quick shout out to Holly Hornway, the Jamon 93. Who else was in here? Cheryl Patrick was in here. Much love to y'all. She said, let me just put this person. I don't know if it's a he or she. Let me know. If DSA was organized, it might have happened. Kimberly, what you talked about reminds me of when the teachers strike recently happened a couple years back. And she talked about they I think it was West Virginia they started off, and they did a kind of wildcat strike because the leaders went ahead and they said, okay,
it was wildcat, yeah.
Yeah, and they had they negotiated a bad deal, and the teacher was like, forget this, we just go to strike. And it spread across the country. So that's something that I'm hoping that we can do, hopefully, but we have 2 years to kind of plan for this. I know we know at this point that we can't rely on the squad. We have to rely on ourselves. And this is why we're coming up with the mutual aid political party. That's why we have Amani, who's organizing on the ground for TYT. And that's why we have different people that we're going to be trying to come up with alternatives to this. All right.
Yeah. I think that like what I've seen the most, I think, is that as a congressperson, say I was elected, you sort of have to take the Bernie Sanders approach in the sense of you don't have any colleagues. Like when you really think about the Senate, like he's kind of on his own a lot of times fighting. Because to me, going off what Kimberly is saying, I think about how Jon Stewart's proximity to the responders with the 9/11 situation really helped instill a level of confidence in that, like he was invested in it. And then his passion and his ability to, leverage comms and media really helped turn the tide on a situation. And because I believe in the American people when it comes to when you speak common sense and you speak to them rationally, like, hey, you have sick time. Hey, you do this. This is what these people don't get. Most people aren't aware. All they hear is, oh my God, the economy could fall down. But once you tell them, but hey, it's only because these people don't want to pay them, but they made this much money. They're like, wait, that doesn't make sense. Why would you do that? And I hate that that's kind of what you have to do now, but it's like you have to be willing to take that chance. Because at the end of the day, if I do that and then my party retaliates, so be it. Like you have to take the right path to help the people that you say you're meant to help and let everything else fall where it is. And I honestly have faith in the American people that when you do those types of things, they will reward you for it and they will fight for you in a way that people who feel disconnected from you won't.
Yeah, 100%. So we're going to do kind of like a rapid fire where we're going to go through a couple topics because it looks like, man, time is flying already. Is 8:40 and I got a couple topics I want to hit. So the first thing, I'm just going to even play this, and if anyone wants to jump in on this, that's fine. And then we're going to keep it moving. Bring this up.
Jeffries won unanimous support from Democrats in the House, but you also had an opportunity to hear from about him. And what did they have to say?
Well, look, I started out covering New York politics. I first met Hakeem Jeffries in 2006. And over the course of this time, he has always made progressives and activists on the left a little suspicious of where he stands and whether he's one of them. That continues now, even though, as you say, he got a unanimous vote when he was elected leader. The feeling is, I talked to Congressman Jamal Bowman, a progressive from New York also, who said to me, I think we agree on a lot of issues, but now it's a question of how it's actually going to work out. But I also talked to Al Sharpton, obviously prominent black leader, prominent progressive leader, known Jeffries a long time, and he said to me that Jeffries said to him a long time ago, look, I'm going to be the guy that goes into the room. You're the one who goes and gets handcuffed, but it's a different role. And Sharpton said to me, but we should trust him in that room. And that's the real question here, is a question of style that Jeffries has that's not as brash and not as rhetorically connected to a lot of what you see out of the left of the party.
All right, so how long do you think it's going to take for progressives not to trust this guy?
They already don't trust him.
Exactly. I wouldn't have voted for him.
I see it.
Go ahead, Amani.
I think because remember, progressives didn't trust Biden, then all of a sudden, like shoved down our throats. How he didn't forgive student loans, and now I won't say the words. This is a family bad situation with student loans, and then there's this like I give it until probably like some fight with Republicans, and I think whenever there's going to be a hard fight with Republicans along the lines of a progressive, it's going to be I have no faith that this kind of lasts. I think as soon as they think like, oh, here's a chance a little bit, let's call him a progressive. I think we just going off of habits, I just see that coming.
Go ahead, Dave.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was just going to say, for me, I think it's going to take is that, unfortunately, well, thankfully, none of the squad, quote unquote, or the progressives are white, just to be frank, because what's going to happen is he's going to be shielded from a lot of critique because he's the first black House leader. I've already seen all the bourgeois black, liberal Democrat figures out here like, oh, he's going to really do up and up. And I've actually said, I will give him grace. I do believe that he will genuinely fight for whatever his definition of civil rights is, but that's where it stops and it ends. I was like, at the end of the day, if you refuse to empower said marginalized groups that you claim to fight for economically, then what you're doing is just performative theater. It's great. Yes, black people want to be free, be able to vote and do all the great things. However, when we never made that connection about the economic restitution that black people deserve, we see what position we're in right now. And for me, as a progressive, there's no way that I would have voted for this man without concrete concessions or concrete things that he's openly speaking that he would do. I was like, get on television and tell the people, so there's a record. I will ensure single payer healthcare. I will ensure legalization of marijuana, blah, 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 blah. If they're not doing it, I would happily and openly speak no. And when I'm asked why I wouldn't support the first black so-and-so, I would simply say the color of his skin is irrelevant when the policy positions that he holds is very similar to all the white people that came before him.
100%. Unfortunately, it's going to be you up against the PR war of the mainstream media, because they're going to take all the words that you say and they're going to twist it around and say, oh, they doesn't like the first black, congressperson, leader of the DNC, and they're just going to go to town on that. But I'm totally with you on that one. So let's move on. Unless anybody else have anything pressing to say.
Oh, I do. On this
okay,
issue.
Go ahead, buddy. I got you.
I would say the squad is never going to stand up to Hakeem because they view it as, if I stand up, it doesn't matter because there is no one else who's going to get as many votes as him within the party.
Yeah.
I think the argument for them to vote against Hakeem is, you need to show the base where you stand and what politics you have. I've told other progressives, I'm like, this takeover of the Democratic Party only works if you do it like Trump, in the sense that you come in very aggressively talking about your vision, and that you make it a either or for the base. You put the question to the base of, you could either have this or you could have this, but these are two competing visions of the way this party needs to go. The squad has never made that argument. They're scared to make that argument to the base of like, listen, we are fundamentally different from our leadership, and we are vying for power within the party, and we want to take over the party for 1, 2, 3, and 4. They're very hesitant to even go that way, and that's part of the reason why I think this takeover of the Democratic Party is not going to work, because you need to put it to the base, and you need to make it clear to the base the politics that you stand for, why you stand for them, and why you're against the leadership. You talk to the average Democrat on the street, you think the average Democrat knows the difference between AOC and Nancy Pelosi? Go on Twitter, talk to people in real life, look at the articles. A lot of Democrats think AOC is just like, the reason she's different is just because she's young, Latina, and like cool or whatever. That's what they think the difference is, and that is a indictment on the squad and AOC politics.
Yeah, so I think that what I would do is, and I agree with you, because you're going to have opposition from the mainstream media. Like I just told Day, that they're going to use what you said against you, right? But that's why I would advise the next generation, or whoever we come in next, to say, you guys have to embrace the people, the grassroots. How do you do that? Embrace the independent media. That's the only way you can do this. Go on their show, pull a Rokana, but instead of Rokana saying everything that frustrates the hell out of us, you're going to be on there actually fighting for the people. And you're going on different shows once a week. You're going RBN. Next week, you go on TYT. The next week, you go on Humans Report. The next week, you go on Savvy Sab Show. Next week, go on Brianna Joy Gray. And you build a community. And even to this point, Rokana, he frustrates us. But to a certain extent, you got to respect him. Even though you don't like everything that he does, you might not even vote for him if he runs for president. But you say, you know what? At least he comes and you know where he stands. So if you can do that, plus on top of that, you're with the audience, and you can rationalize and do everything that you say you want to do, then I think that you can actually start to build power that way. And you're going to be able to influence people on the inside. One last thing I want to say is the framing. So with what Kimberly said, I think how we should frame things, and I heard Kyle Kalinske say this one time, so I can't claim full credit. You should get the list of every different topics that's in the world and say, we're the only party, or we are the organization that wants to make America number one. So, number one in healthcare. You go and find that list of people, the number one, the healthcare list. I think like we're like number 30 is 3 or whatever it is that we're at. We're going to say, hey, our job, if you elect us, our goal is to make us number one. And most likely Medicare for All is going to help us get to that top spot. Then transportation, infrastructure. You say, hey, right now we're number 15. We want to make America number one. What's the next thing? So you go down the list of all the major statistics and say, we're the party, or we're the organization that's going to make us number one in the world. Even if you're conservative and you're that patriotic, in the middle of Timbuktu, and you're like spitting, you got the straw in your mouth, kind of conservative, you're gonna be like, oh yeah, I want to make America number one there. Let's do that, right? So I think that you can really galvanize a lot of people, not only people on the left, but people on the right with that message. And that's what we need to do. We need to get together, people on the left and people on the right.
And I think you have to let people know, because of course it's going to be well, how will you pay for it? And just tell people bluntly, payment isn't the problem. It's just prioritization. We always have the money to do what we want. It's what we prioritize. And right now, as whoever's leadership it is, administration, we are prioritizing people for the first time since the New Deal era.
What's up, Joy to the World? Join us in the chat. Much love. I know Amani is having some problems with the mic. Give us a testing real quick, Amani, if you can, while I get the next clip here as well. All right. So Amani, can you hear me? I don't know. Okay, let me hear your mic. Let me just make sure you're good real quick before we go to this clip. No, I can't hear you. I can't hear you right now. Okay, I'm going to go to this clip while you get that settled. And so this is going to give us the opposite side, which is the Kevin McCarthy. This is a clip on how he's doing trying to galvanize votes right now. So let me get that.
On the Republican side, it's definitely not going to be that easy for Kevin McCarthy. He is still trying to wrangle the votes to get to 218, and he seems confident, but his opponents are also equally confident that he won't get there.
If you don't think you'll have 218 when it finally comes to floor, would you step down in the race for speaker?
No, we'll have 218.
But what if you can't get there?
I'll get there.
He's not going to be speaker. He doesn't have the votes to get to 218. He's not going to get to 218. I hope that Kevin McCarthy will say and recognize, okay, for the good of the country, for the good of the party, for the good of Congress, I'm going to pull myself out.
It's not going to be easy, and a lot of Republicans at this moment think they're going to have multiple ballots on this.
Absolutely. I mean, look, it's just a math problem that they have, and it's made worse by the fact that the majority is going to be so small for the Republicans. So he really can only afford to lose a handful of Republicans. Obviously, all the Democrats are going to vote against him on the floor. He needs 218. And right now there are 5 people and more privately are saying, they say that group is actually a much larger. He lost more than 30 people, I believe it was, when he was nominated for speaker by secret ballot a couple of weeks ago. So he clearly doesn't have the votes right now, and I think he would acknowledge that. What he's saying is he's not going to step aside willingly, but the question is he going to be forced to step aside? And the problem that he has, if you look back, I mean, Nancy Pelosi did face a similar issue 4 years ago. She had about 36 people in her caucus who had not voted for her to nominate her for speaker. But if you look at what she was doing at this time 4 years ago, she was methodically meeting with people, cutting deals with them, and getting them over to her side. There were more than a dozen members, Democrats, who she figured out a way to get on her side. Kevin McCarthy is dealing with people who, almost by definition, don't want anything except for his head. Yeah, except right? For, they just don't want him to be speaker.
For some degree of chaos. I mean, it's going to be a chaotic few weeks.
So how do you win people like that over? And you heard Bob Good and others say they can't be won over.
Right, exactly. I mean, he's willing to give them whatever perhaps they want, but they may not want anything except his head.
He's ready to give them whatever they want. They got him in a position that he would give them whatever. Even the Medicare for all. If the Freedom Caucus said, hey, we need you to put Medicare for all on the docket and for us to do a House vote, he would say, sure, if you make me Speaker of the House. I wonder what that sounds like. Go ahead. Since you were on there, Armani, let's see if we can hear you.
Can you hear?
Nah. Oh, wait. It came in real quick.
Uh-oh. Test.
All right, say your piece because it's kind of coming in and out, but I'm not sure.
So I don't want it to be great. Sorry, audio. If my audio, it's usually good.
Yeah,
conspiracy again. I really don't have Republicans do to be 100% sure. Maybe the left will see, but I that the left paid weight to enough numbers for an inside game. The focus should have been using the inside game phone of just this is what they just got in there.
I'm sorry, Amani. It's just cutting in so much that I don't want to disrespect you because I really,
no, you're good.
And I really want to hear what you're saying. So I don't know if there's maybe even a regular mic that we could try, like the computer mic that's built in or something. I don't know if you're on a laptop.
Yeah, when I use freezing.
Okay, I can't even hear that. I apologize. I'm so sorry.
It's all good. It's all good.
All right. Kimberly, did you want to jump in on this, or who wanted to jump on this? Anybody else?
Hello.
Kimberly did.
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, can't say anything much. I mean, there's always going to be a difference in the sense that these Tea Party folks within the Republican Party are supported by very rich people, which is why they have the courage to challenge the leadership of the Republican Party like that because they're already being backed by really powerful people themselves. The squad, on the other hand, and progressives in the Democratic Party, it's not like that because there is no super powerful, rich oligarchy who's ready to put money behind you whenever you come out and say that. That being said, fight that we need to have, like, that's when you are out there speaking for the people at the bottom of the pyramid, you know that money's not going to be on your side. And I think that when you as a progressive, like you run to be an elected leader, that's the pact that you make. You stand that, you know, your support and all that stuff is going to come from the bottom, but there isn't going to be institutional or very rich support coming out for you. And
okay, so
that's when courage is really needed. The squad is never going to have kind of support that the Tea Party Republicans do. That's why because these Republicans don't have, they're not courageous. If billionaires weren't backing them, they'd not be doing all this. But the squad, they should have challenged the leader because of what I said. It's about giving that question to the base. Because
yeah, hold on sorry, Kimberly. So now it might literally be restreamed. That's the issue because now whatever was going on with Armani is going on.
We can hear you
with
though.
Kimberly. Yeah,
you sound perfect.
Oh, you can hear me?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move on to the next clip so that we got 5 minutes left. So we're going to pretty much wrap it up. I want to we can end, but I want to show this real quick also. Let me show this thing real quick. Man, so there are people who are, they don't want to get protested, by climate change activists and this is what they have to worry about. I just saw this video. I was like, wow, this is a crazy clip of what you really have to worry about when it comes to climate change. So I just wanted to show that quick. And then the last that we're going, oh yeah, here it is. Killer robots. So I don't know if how many people have been watching independent media or even know about this topic. If you don't know about it, let me set it up. Basically in San Francisco, they had a hearing on allowing the police department to be able to arm their robot fleet and allow them to be able to remotely kill somebody if they wanted to. And this is actually happening in San Francisco right now. And I want to show the clip. This is a clip this is one of the Congress people in the council. They already voted affirmatively on it, but I think there's one more vote before it becomes official law. But he's going to give examples of what the police department said are reasons why, or cases where they would use the robot to kill somebody. So you guys are going to be
robots
really
which are
shocked
armed, and the examples were, number one was in case there was a suicide bomber. So somehow he thought it might be a good idea to send a robot armed with an explosive to try to subdue a suicide bomber. So that makes absolute sense to me. The other was a situation like the Mandalay Bay mass shooting. And again, the suggestion that these robots, which are armed with explosives, would be used to go into a fully occupied hotel and blow the hotel up. I mean, these were the kinds of examples being given by the very people who would have the discretion on whether to use this technology. So I think it would be extremely reckless to give this final approval. And I'm really hoping that my colleagues change their mind. And on Tuesday, we have the final vote on this. And the example.
I mean, this is absolutely ridiculous. Let me go to my man David on this one.
Wow. Yeah, I just think it's interesting. I was like, who's benefiting? Probably the military industrial complex somehow. We've already got drones in other countries terrorizing their citizens by blowing them up from out of the sky. And so now we're turning it on to our own citizens. Like, that is unbelievable.
It's crazy. It is absolutely nuts. And the funny thing is, or not funny, but I believe they did this before. I forgot where. I should have looked up the article where I remember they had a person that was like, he was doing a shootout. They had him held up. They sent over a robot to go scope him out. When they sent the robot to him, the robot exploded, killing the guy too. But it never became a big fanfare in the media, which I think it should have, because it was the first example of domestic droning. If you think about it, now it wasn't an airplane or a flying drone that shot down a missile, but it was a drone that went over to, he probably was a criminal and could have been prosecuted rightfully and put in jail. But this is the example where they blew him up. Like, this is Judge Dredd, whereas they're jury and executioner all in one. So it's absolutely crazy that they're trying to make this policy. I think that was a one-off because I never heard about it happening again. But here in San Francisco, this seems to be a situation where it's going to be a one-off.
Is this also to like address staffing issues in police departments?
That's a good question. I think it's literally about allowing the robots to be able to. When I first heard about this, I thought it was like the robot would have like a mini gun and be able to shoot. But he's talking about exploding the robot, and if it could affect the whole hotel, that's a huge explosion. So let me let's see if we could get Amani, see if we could try it again.
High sound. Okay. Never mind.
Much love to you, Amani. I'm sorry. It's a conspiracy. It's not me, I promise. Let me go to Day. I think they want to jump in on here.
Yeah, for me, I think what makes this so insidious is the fact that this actually gives legitimate credence to all the Second Amendment people who are like, oh, the the government is going to turn on us and we need our we need the same assault rifles, etc. This is actually a clear example of, we are now at the mercy of someone essentially playing a world video game, their version of Call of Duty. And it's like, who does liability fall on when they accidentally shoot the wrong person or they blow up a building? And it's like, are you guys going to give restitution to the families that this happened to? Are you guys going to take accountability and make better preventative measures? Absolutely not. It's going to be, just like they say overseas, oops, it was a casualty of the job. And that's horrific. Like, it's already bad enough we do it overseas, but to now imagine us just casually doing it here is truly disgusting.
Absolutely. Well, it always seems that whatever we do overseas always comes back home somehow in some shape or form, or eventually comes back home. All right, I'm going to do rapid fire and then we're going to end the show. Thank you so much for coming on the show, my peoples. David, Kimberly, Amani. Sorry for the technical difficulties, but I hope you guys had fun like I always have fun. But I'm going to show one more clip and then I'm going to show the update with the mutual aid party.org and then we're going to end the show. So this last clip, and I'm not even going to have a discussion, I just want to show you all the clip real quick. And this baffled me. This clip baffled me.
Lauren, thank you very much.
The reasoning. Beto did not meet with SBF. When he has a big donor, he meets with them. He didn't. So we returned the money and he lost to Texas Governor Greg Abbott.
Yeah, he did. But give him props for that at least. All right, Lauren, thank you very much.
So if you want to hear the longer version, it's in my timeline. But basically, this was a short clip. They just casually mentioned corruption and didn't even point it out. They just kept it moving. Literally, Beto said he was the only person. We all know about FTX and Brett Friedman, this guy, Sam, and how he totally scammed a whole bunch of people. But they're giving Beto credit for giving back the money. But this happened, he gave back the money way before the scandal even broke. Why did he give back the money? Because the policy was Sam wanted, he only meets with people that, he only takes money from people he meets with, Beto O'Rourke. So only when you can have that sit down conversation where we know they're trying to say, hey, we need you to do this, and they're having that schmoozing conversation about influence. Beto's is principled enough that he will say, I need to be directly corrupted by you before I take your money. And they don't even mention that at all. That he didn't take Sam's money because he didn't actually meet with them and he gave it back. It is absolutely crazy. I was surprised. That's why I like doing the show, because there's certain clips I'm like, nobody picked this up, nobody else. All right, and then I'm going to show everyone here the latest update with the mutual aid political party. As much as Kimberly, I wish she was on camera so I could joke with her. As much as she hates the name, and I love Kimberly so much, but that's okay. Here is the website is officially up. So everybody in the chat, I'm going to be going on Savvy Sabs at some point. I always go on her call and show to promote as well, and eventually I'm going to do my rounds. But this is before the official launch of the official website, which is hopefully going to happen early next year. But this is the website. We have it. It's mutualaidparty.org. You can put in your email address to sign up so that when we officially launch, we'll send out a mass email to say, hey, we have launched. Please sign up. Please put in your mutual aid tickets. If you have any problems, anything that you need to paint your room, if you need to cut your grass, your lawnmower is broken, anything that you need, put in the ticket. And hopefully on the other side of that, if you want to help, go to the website, look for tickets in your area, say, hey, that person needs their lawn cut. I can take that ticket. I can help that person out. Oh, they need their room painted. I'm a great painter. I can help out. This is how we're going to build up community. We're going to be helping each other and eventually building political power. So I'm going to put in the chat, mutualaidparty.org. Thank you, everybody. This is the last show of the year. And we'll be back next year. And I'm going to definitely have my buddy Amani, Kimberly. Hopefully I'm going to try to StreamYard next. That's the only thing, because this thing in Restream has been a huge problem. But let me also do my due diligence with my Patreon members. Boom. Nancy Vancher, Deborah B, PJ Chris, Akibash Akita, Zachary Guston, Shanika Thompson. Thank you so much for being Patreon members. So let me give my people a last word. I don't know if we could get Amani and Kimberly one last time. We're going to try it, though. We're going to try it. But Day, last words, buddy.
Thank you so much for having me on this year. This has been a true pleasure and a treat to get to experience this live with you all. So I'm just super grateful and blessed. Thank you.
No problem, man. Glad to have you on. David.
Yeah, thank you. Congratulations on 100 episodes. I think that's really cool. Yes, thank you for bringing me on. I was gonna say I something that I've noticed, and I'm happy that you're like that you've developed the mutual aid party. I was like serving BGE, big grassroots energy, and
there you go.
Yeah, there you go. So, but yeah, thank you. And then Day and I are actually getting ready to launch a podcast. You can follow us on Instagram. Call Me Limbo Pod. The name of the podcast is Call Me Limbo. When they go low, we go lower, is the goal. And so, yeah, political satire, commentary. Yeah, so we'd love for you guys to go on and follow.
I can't wait to check that out. Kimberly, I don't know if you can talk. You could try it now, but I know she said thanks for having me on.
Am I clear?
Yeah, I can hear you, Kimberly. Go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, sorry for my internet. I mean, I feel like my internet connection is good, but I guess not for podcasting.
It could have been restreamed too. I don't know.
So, but yeah, thank you for having me on. I've been on for a couple of episodes, and it's always nice that you remember me, especially since I come from a small state.
Love having you on. You're like my Black Panther, that's not elected yet, that we're trying to get in office at some point. So we're going to make it happen.
LMAO.
All right, let's try Amani one more time. Let's see what can happen.
No.
But all right, much love to you, Amani, and thank you so much for coming on. Let me give a shout out to everybody in the chat. We got Cheryl Patrick, we got PJ Chris, PJ Holly, John Kemper, the Jamon M93. Who else we got here? Yeah, and everybody else. Thank you so much. We're going to make a difference in this world, one person at a time, one step at a time. We're going to change the world. We're going to make this happen. And next year, look forward to the mutual aid. But I don't want to call myself the founder. I'm not going to promote that because the foundation is going to be built by all of us. I can't do all the mutual aid tickets. So we're going to need everybody, all hands on deck when this project launches, that everybody does their part. And remember, it's only charity when you're putting into it. So make sure that you also request help for whatever you need. Also pull from the website when it does launch. It has to be a two-way thing. It can't be just you giving, because you're going to get burnt out. I want you to also request. It's about communities, about building love. It's about building political power. So thank you so much for having, for coming on the show. Much love to y'all. Have a great one. Adios.